Hi crafters, this is Cindy B with mrsbscraftroom.blogspot.com, here today with another video in our video series. Today I'm going to be creating a scrapbook page layout. I'm trying to get caught up on some of my summer photos with my grandchildren and wanted to put together a swimming page of them when we went swimming. So what I'm going to do is show you today how I think out my process and how I put together a scrapbook layout. One of the things I like to start with, this one's going to be a double page layout. So what I've done is I have selected my mat size is the 12 by 24. I do have a 12 by 24 mat, however I don't always cut with that mat. I will be cutting with the 12 by 12, but I like to do the layout on the 12 by 24 when I'm doing a two-page layout so I can see how I want my pieces to lay. So basically what I do is I start with the 12 by 24 mat, and then I decide what type of images or cuts that I want to include on my layout. So for this one, I've decided to take I'll probably use plain cardstock for the back of the layout, two 12 by 12 pieces, and then I'll use a coordinating designer cardstock for the center. So what I'm going to do is select, let's see if I can highlight that there, that rectangle, oh, I'm sorry, that square, and I have chosen that from, let's see, I think it's Lacy Labels. Let's take a look, and the way you can do that is select your image, go back to the little keypad, highlight your image in the toolbar, and it will tell you, yes, it came from Lacy Labels. So that particular scallop square came from Lacy Labels. What I've done is I brought that into the page and I sized that up as big as I wanted it to be. So I wanted it to actually, I probably cut it in half. So I wanted part of it to be on one side of the page and part to be on the other side of the page. So I've sized that scallop square at 11.50 by 11.07. And then I have somewhat centered that in the center of that page. The next thing that I want to do is I go into George and Basic Shapes and I just pull out these rectangles, and excuse me, I just put these around different areas where I think I want my pictures to go. Sometimes the layout ends up looking like this, sometimes it doesn't. You know, this is just an idea of where I want my pictures to go on this page. The next thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to create some more interacting elements on the page, but I already had a lot going on this first page, so I created another layer, and leaving the eyeball on the first layer, I can then see through where my images are in the first layer and where I wanted to place some more images on the page. So because this is a swimming page, I decided to select from Life's a Beach these waves, and I'll put those on each end of the scrapbook page underneath of the designer paper. So I've sized those waves to be 11 inches wide by 4 inches high, and then those will cut out and then I'll probably cut those out on designer paper and then layer that underneath of that scallop square. And then I wanted to add just some basic shapes. So I just picked from George and Basic Shapes some rectangles and sized those also. This particular one is sized at 5.23 by 8.75. And I placed that over on the left side of the page under the wave and probably under the designer paper just to add some additional interest on the page. And then to kind of balance the page, I went ahead and added another rectangle on the other side, and using the kerning tool, I was able to turn that rectangle on its side. This is the kerning tool here. So if you see, I was able to turn that on its side to give it a different dimension. Okay, so then if I go back to my first layer, this is where, there, so I can see through there a little bit, the second layer that I created with the waves and the added dimension. And then I went ahead and added the word splash from Create a Critter, and then the cute little fish are also from Create a Critter, and the lobster is from Create a Critter. So that's how I actually created the layout. Now here's how I decide how I'm going to cut these out. So I created another layer on the mat, and this particular one, here we go. I have put all of the fish and the little crab and the word splash that's coming from Create a Critter. What I'll probably do is move these around in a fashion that they'll fit on the 12 by 12 mat, or I'll delete those. And if you're not familiar with the Gypsy, what you can do is you can select an item, delete it. Say I just wanted to, actually I'm going to group everything together. Say I just wanted to cut out the word splash. So I'm going to delete all of these little fish layers. And then delete. So the only thing I have left on my page now is the splash. So when I go to cut that, you'll see that that's the only thing left to cut, and I can even move those around. So if I wanted the splash to be in one particular color and the layer splash to be another color, I can move it down there. Now, one of the really neat features about the Gypsy is once I've cut this out, I can then go and push this little button to the side and push open again, and it says, do you want to save the changes to this design? Well, I don't want to save those deletions, so I say don't save. And then I go back into my menu here and I open back up my same page, which for me is the swimming layout. And if I go back to layer 3, all of the items that I had previously deleted are back. So you can continue to do that if you just wanted to cut out the 4 fish back, the shadow feature, or the bodies, or the head, or the laying piece. You can delete those. Just make sure you hit don't save when you close that and open it back up, and you'll have your pieces back again. So I basically did the same thing on the layer 4 is where I have the scallop, the square scallop, and then the waves to cut out. And then on layer 5, I just went ahead and cut out a white cardstock, the rectangles from Georgian Basic Shapes, so I could get an idea where I wanted to put pictures on my layout. So that's basically how I think through my scrapbook layouts. And, you know, I'll show you in a minute. I'll go ahead and cut all of these out, and then I'll put the layout together, and then you can see what the finished product looked like. So I'll be back in a sec. All right, here we are back with the completed layout from the Gypsy layout page that we created. And just wanted to show you real quick what I did. I didn't leave it exactly the same way it was on the layout, but it gave me my idea and my starting place. So there is the splash that we cut out, and just added a little bling on the water spout there on the word splash, the little fish and the water waves, and the crab and things like that. So it makes scrapbooking extremely easy when you lay out your plan on the Gypsy. And it makes it a lot, the cuts go really fast, and putting together the page goes really fast. So I hope you enjoyed the video today and that you've learned something about using your Gypsy. All right, we'll see you next week. Thank you.